My girlfriend posted a photo with another man, captioned, "Last night single." The next day, she got a surprise. Hello, everyone. I don't know if this is the right place to write this, but I need to vent. My name is Dylan. I'm 28 years old, and I am, or was, engaged to Denora, 26. Our wedding was planned for 2 weeks from now. Our relationship began 6 years ago, when I was finishing college and she was just starting hers. Since then, we have shared almost everything: trips, future plans, financial problems, and many projects together. Despite the typical couple's arguments, I always thought we had a solid relationship based on trust. A year ago, I proposed to her in a moment that was perfect for me. I spent months planning it and saving for the ring. I took her to dinner at the place where we had our first date, and there I asked her to be my wife. It was a very special night for both of us. We cried with happiness, and from that day on, we set about planning the wedding. From the beginning, we agreed that we didn't want bachelor or bachelorette parties. Neither of us is into partying, and we both agreed that those types of events could only bring unnecessary trouble. She told me she preferred something quiet, maybe a dinner with her closest friends a few days before the wedding, but nothing excessive. That's why I was surprised when, just a week before the wedding, she told me her friends had organized something for her. According to her, they insisted so much that she couldn't say no. She told me with very little notice. She said she was leaving that same afternoon for a house on the beach, that she would be back the next day, and she promised it would be something calm. I confess I didn't like the idea. I told her calmly, "Denora, we agreed there would be no bachelorette party." She replied, somewhat annoyed, "It's not a party as such. We're just going to have dinner, drink a little, talk, and that's it. There won't be anything weird, I swear." I didn't want to fight, so I accepted, although I wasn't entirely convinced. I asked her to at least let me know when she arrived so I'd know she was okay, and she did. She sent me a message saying they were settled in, that everything was calm and not to worry. I spent the rest of the afternoon at home, watched a couple of games, and then got on the computer to get some work done to distract myself. Later, before bed, I opened Instagram. Several of her friends were posting stories from the gathering, videos of them dancing, photos of the beach, drinks on the table. Everything seemed normal. Until I saw a post that made me freeze. Denora had uploaded a photo to her own profile. In the image, she was hugging a man I didn't know, both smiling and looking quite close. At the bottom of the photo, there was a caption, "Last night single," accompanied by a wine glass emoji and a laughing face emoji. I was motionless for a few seconds. At first, I thought maybe it was a joke, but the more I looked at the photo, the more uncomfortable I felt. She had never posted anything like that. She's not even one to post many personal photos, let alone hugging someone who's not me. I opened the comments, and there were several from her friends saying things like, "You deserve it, girl. Enjoy your night." And even one that said, "Ha ha ha, what a great memory." All of this made my stomach drop. Without thinking, I texted her, "Who is the guy in the photo?" She took a while to reply. It was only a few minutes, but they felt like an eternity. Finally, she replied, "Ha ha ha, babe, he's a friend of one of the girls. We were just joking." I took a deep breath before writing back, "I don't find it very funny." Another few minutes passed before she replied, "Don't be like that. It's just a photo. It's nothing." I stared at the screen, feeling that something wasn't right. Why would she, knowing I didn't like the idea of the party, post something like that? Why call it a joke? I went back to her friends' stories. I started watching them one by one, paying closer attention. The same man appeared in several, dancing with all of them, pouring drinks, and in one, almost in the background, Denora was seen dancing close to him. Nothing explicit was visible, but the image of them together made me uncomfortable. Anxiety started to take over. I couldn't stop looking at the posts. Every time I saw her face smiling next to him, I felt a pain in my chest. It wasn't just jealousy. It was the feeling that she had crossed the line, the same line we had agreed to respect. I texted her again. Denora, seriously, I don't understand why you posted that. We had an agreement. This time, she didn't respond as quickly. At least 20 minutes passed before I received her message. Dylan, please, relax. It's not a big deal. If you're gonna be like this, we'd better talk tomorrow. She left me hanging, unable to get that image out of my head. I turned off my phone, but ended up turning it back on to keep checking social media. In one of her friends' posts, there was a small photo album of the night. In one of them, I saw Denora and that man very close, almost shoulder to shoulder, laughing at something. I stared at the image over and over, feeling the anger slowly building inside me. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but at that moment, it was impossible for me to sleep. It was almost 2 in the morning, and I was still awake, alone in my room, phone in hand, debating whether to call her or wait until she came back the next day. On one hand, I wanted to avoid an argument via chat, but on the other, I felt I needed an immediate explanation. The hours passed, and I still couldn't sleep. The last time I checked the clock was 4 in the morning. The room was completely dark, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the image of Denora hugging that guy. It wasn't just the photo, it was everything. It represented the disrespect, the broken agreement, and that bitter feeling that something was happening there that I didn't know about. I was so lost in thought that I almost jumped out of bed when I heard the phone ring. It was a call. I saw the screen. Denora. I hesitated for a second before answering, my heart pounding. Denora? What are you doing? I said, my voice hoarse, a mix of tired and annoyed. Why did you post that? For a moment, I heard nothing, and then I heard laughter in the background, laughter from several women, shouting and party music. Denora! Then, suddenly, a male voice answered. Hey, buddy, relax, he said in a mocking tone. We're just having fun here. She and I were just dancing, bro. God, you're so toxic. I heard the girls in the background laughing even harder. It was as if they were having fun at my expense. Put Denora on, I managed to say, but the guy kept talking. Bro, don't you worry, he continued sarcastically. If you do it right and leave her satisfied, she has no reason to look for anything else. Or is it that you don't do it right? Right, that's where your insecurity comes from, isn't it? Well, don't worry, I can help you with that. Relax, I'll leave her satisfied for you so she's not in a bad mood. My heart raced and I felt the blood rush to my head. Before I could respond, I heard more cackling and the call disconnected. I sat there motionless, phone in hand, listening to the silence of my room. The first thing I felt was a mixture of rage and disbelief. Had I heard that correctly? Had someone really dared to say that to me, to insult me like that, and to mock my relationship? For a moment, I wanted to call her back, but my hand was trembling with anger. I knew if I did, I would end up yelling, and she probably wouldn't even answer. That was enough. I didn't need explanations. I didn't need her to lie to me the next day saying it was just a joke. That call was more than clear. I sat on the bed and stared into space for a few minutes. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't break anything. I felt a strange calm, as if something inside me had broken and there was nothing left to save. It was almost 5 in the morning when I made the decision I was not getting married, not after this. I got up, turned on the light, and grabbed the phone. I started searching my contact list for the number of the event venue. Luckily, they had a 24-hour customer service line. When they answered, I explained that I wanted to cancel the wedding. The person who answered sounded surprised, but processed the cancellation. They informed me there would be a penalty of 50% of the total cost for canceling so close to the date. I just said that was fine and asked them to please send the cancellation receipt to my email. I hung up and called the catering service to cancel the banquet. Again, they said they couldn't refund the full deposit. I didn't care. Then I called the band we had hired, also canceled. I did the same with the photographer and the florist. Every call made me feel lighter, as if I were lifting a huge weight off my shoulders. At 6:30 in the morning, when I was done with the main vendors, I had a quick coffee and started on what was next. I went to the closet and got a suitcase.
Packed all her clothes, shoes, toiletries, and personal items she kept at my house. I didn't do it with hatred. I didn't throw them or rip them. I simply folded them and packed them. The suitcase was full to the brim. Then I called a locksmith. I asked him to change all the locks on the house, including the gate and the front door. He said he could come at 8 in the morning, so I waited. In the meantime, I put the suitcase by the front door. When the locksmith arrived, he worked for almost 2 hours. When he finished, I tested all the new keys and paid him in cash. The feeling of turning the new lock and hearing the click was indescribable. It was like symbolically closing that chapter of my life.
The last thing I did was call the seamstress who was making Denora's dress. It was a custom-made dress, something she had dreamed of since she was a little girl. When I explained I wanted to cancel the order, she said it was almost finished and she could only refund me part of the money. I replied that it didn't matter, she could keep the rest. By the time I finished everything, it was almost 11 in the morning. The house was silent. Only the suitcase remained by the entrance, waiting. I collapsed onto the couch and felt a strange peace. It wasn't happiness, nor pure sadness, but it was the certainty of having made the right decision. I closed my eyes, and for the first time all night, I felt I could breathe without that knot in my chest. Minutes later, I went up to my room and threw myself on the bed. I slept like a baby. No dreams, no nightmares, just a deep sleep that made me feel like somehow I was starting over. I woke up to the sound of banging on the door. I looked at the clock. It was 4 in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't remember anything that had happened until I heard her voice.
"Dylan," Denora yelled from outside. "Open up. My key isn't working. What is my luggage doing out here?" I stayed in bed, silent, listening to her pounding, which grew louder. I had left the suitcase right in front of the door, so she must have seen it. "Babe," she yelled again. "Open up, please." I rolled over in bed and tried to close my eyes, but it was impossible to ignore her shouting. "Dylan, answer me. Is this about last night? Don't exaggerate. It was just a joke." When I heard that, I felt the rage rising in me again. I got up, walked to the door, and opened it just a few inches. She was there, eyes red and face distraught. "What are you doing here, Denora?" I said in a dry voice. "This isn't your house anymore. Take your things and get lost." She stood motionless for a second, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Babe," she said in a faint voice, "let me explain." "There's nothing to explain, and don't call me babe anymore." "But we're getting married," she replied, tears in her eyes. "You can't do this to me, Dylan." I opened the door a little wider so she could see my angry expression. "There is no wedding. It's over," I said firmly. "I canceled everything. Get out of here or I'm calling the police. This isn't your house. It never was." She started crying harder. "Dylan, please don't leave me like this. It was just a joke. I swear nothing happened." "I've heard enough," I replied, and slammed the door shut. I lay back down on the bed, intending to go back to sleep, but for several minutes I only heard her sobbing and pleading from outside. Eventually, she stopped pounding, and I heard nothing. Little by little, I fell asleep again. When I woke up, it was 8 at night. The house was silent. There were no messages on my phone, which meant Denora had probably left. I felt calmer, although I still had that empty feeling in my chest. At 9 o'clock, the phone rang. It was Denora's father. I hesitated to answer, but in the end, I did. "Hello," I said. "Idiot," I heard on the other end in a furious tone. "What have you done to my daughter? Did you really leave her on the street over a joke?" I took a deep breath before responding. "First of all, don't talk to me in that tone," I said calmly. "You should talk to your daughter like that and raise her better. Do you even know what her little joke was?" "Yes, the photo," he responded with contempt. "So what? Are you that sensitive? So what if she danced with another guy?"
I let out a small, ironic laugh. Wow, I see where she gets her morals from, I replied. Tell me, sir, did your wife do the same to you, and you just didn't have the balls to leave her? You've probably forgiven some infidelity, right? There was a tense silence on the other end of the line. You don't talk about my wife, you bastard. You know nothing about us. You're less than a man for leaving a woman destitute. She's hardly destitute, I replied coldly. She's young, she has hands to work, or at least a body to seduce some idiot with money she finds on the street. I heard him breathing furiously. My daughter is not a whatever, you bastard. Take that back right now. I take nothing back, I said with absolute calm, and stop wasting my time. Tell Denora not to contact me again. I hung up before he could reply. I stared at the phone for a few seconds, feeling my heart pounding, but not with sadness, with liberation. It was as if that conversation had definitively sealed my decision. I sat on the couch and remained there in silence for several minutes. I remembered everything we had experienced together, the laughs, the trips, the future plans, the sleepless nights talking about our wedding. All of that now seemed to belong to another life, to another person. I thought about the call from that morning, the voice of that guy laughing at me, saying he would leave her satisfied for me. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. No one who respects me, who respects our relationship, and who truly loves me would allow something like that to happen. And they certainly wouldn't let that man answer the phone in the middle of the night to humiliate me. For a moment, I felt a twinge of guilt, but I quickly dismissed it. There was no going back. I had done what I had to do. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and went back to my room. Even though it was night, I felt incredibly tired, as if I hadn't slept in days. I lay down, closed my eyes, and this time I was able to rest in peace. I knew the worst was yet to come. The calls from friends, the questions from family, the criticism from people who wouldn't understand the situation. But deep down, I didn't care. I wasn't going to marry someone who, on the eve of our wedding, preferred to be in another man's arms and allow me to be insulted to my face. As sleep began to take over, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: tranquility. The next day, I woke up late, around 10 in the morning. The room was quiet, but my phone wouldn't stop ringing and vibrating. When I checked it, I saw I had dozens of messages and many missed calls. Family, friends, acquaintances, everyone wanted to know what had happened. Some were worried, some angry, and some just curious. I read the messages one by one. Many asked, "Why did you cancel everything? What happened to the wedding? Are you okay?" And among all those messages, I also saw several from Denora's friends. In one, a friend wrote, "Dylan, last night was our idea. Don't take it so personally. We wanted Denora to have fun. We didn't think you'd see it that way. It was just a joke." Another even told me that the guy in the photo, the one who spoke to me on the phone, was a trusted gay friend of theirs, that I shouldn't worry, and that nothing had happened. "Please don't leave her. You know how much she loves you," her message ended. I didn't reply immediately. Something inside me said something was off. That early morning call kept replaying in my head. The guy's tone didn't sound like someone making a harmless joke.
So I decided to do a little digging. I went on Facebook and searched for his name. I found him almost immediately. His profile was public, and the first thing I saw was a photo of him on the beach hugging a woman with two small children playing beside them. I kept scrolling and saw more posts, birthday photos, Christmas photos, messages from his wife telling him how much she loved him. Everything indicated he was a married man with a family, and there was nothing to suggest he was gay. That's when I understood. Not only had they played a tasteless joke on me,
but now they were also lying to try and save the situation. My blood was boiling, but I decided I wasn't going to waste my energy explaining this to everyone. I only replied to those who really mattered to me, close friends and family who had always supported me. I told them exactly what happened, that I saw the post, that they called and humiliated me on the phone, and that for me, that was enough to cancel everything. Most of them understood. Several even told me I did the right thing, that it was better I found out before the wedding rather than after. One of my friends wrote, "Brother, you saved yourself from something much worse. If that's their idea of fun, imagine what could happen in a few years." Of course, there were also people who criticized me. Some said I was exaggerating, that I should have listened to her before making such a drastic decision. I simply stopped replying to them. That same week, the rumors started. Dinora began telling people I had lost my mind, that I canceled the wedding in a fit of madness. Even some of her relatives called me to chew me out, but few believed her. The photo she posted that night had been seen by too many people before she deleted it. Several people wrote to me privately to confirm they had seen it and to support my decision. It was a complicated week. It's not easy to watch something you've planned for so long fall apart in a matter of hours. I spent years with Dinora. I invested money, time, and feelings into that relationship. That's why it was painful at first. But as the days went by, I started to feel relief. I realized what hurt me wasn't losing the wedding, but losing the idea of the future I had built in my head.
I reflected a lot. I thought about all the times I ignored little warning signs, the times I preferred to stay quiet to avoid an argument. The truth is, what happened that night was the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't just the photo or the call. It was the attitude, the laughter in the background, the humiliation of listening to a stranger mock me while she laughed with her friends, and then the attempt to cover it all up with a lie. That's when I understood something I never want to forget. Respect is non-negotiable. If I had forgiven this, I probably would have had to forgive something worse in a few months. And I wasn't willing to live a life where the person I love disrespects me and then expects me to just let it go. Over time, everything went back to normal. I focused on my work, started taking care of myself physically, and reconnected with friends I had neglected. Little by little, I stopped thinking about Dinora and started enjoying my life again. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had forgiven her. Maybe we would still be together. Maybe we would have even gotten married. But deep down, I know that distrust would have remained. That in any argument, I would remember that night, that call, and that laughter. Today, I can say I have no regrets. I'd rather have lost money than lose my dignity and years of my life in a relationship that didn't make me feel valued. Months later, one of Dinora's friends wrote to tell me she still missed me, that she hadn't gotten over what happened. I just replied that I wished her the best, but there was nothing more to talk about. That was the last I ever heard of her. Today, I look back and all I feel is relief. That experience taught me that love without respect is worthless. I learned that someone who truly loves you doesn't laugh at you when you're hurt, and that setting boundaries doesn't make you mean or exaggerated. It makes you someone who respects yourself. I may have ended up alone, but I'd rather be alone than with someone who makes me feel worth less than I am.